Is Howard Jordan a top 10 defender? Howard Jordan, top 10 defender. I'm asking you. I don't know how he is. That's why I'm asking you.
How is he not a top 10 defender?
Because we talked about this on the show, and Jordan didn't fall in the top 10.
Sure it is.
But how is he not a top 10 defender?
Arcpinell is.
A few moments later.
This Friday Night Exposure, we're going to start it up. It's going to be the greatest defenders of all time, and Travis and I are going to use his metrics so that we can come up with a great way to figure out if Jordan's top 10 or not.
Ooh, you niggas in trouble.
Peace and blessings, y'all. Welcome to the Friday Night Exposure with the Exposer. I'm your host, Johnny the Exposer. Welcome to the GOAT James Kingdom channel. Y'all go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. As you guys know, we talk basketball like none other. We talk about the greatness of the game. We talk about the greatness of all the players. We are the GOAT James Kingdom panel. And yes, y'all, we are here for another great Friday Night Exposure. As you can see, tonight's topic will be about Travis's top 10 players of all time, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, we're going to talk about the greatest defenders of all time. So tonight we have Travis. It is I, Johnny the Exposer, as we're coming to you live and direct from the GOAT James Kingdom channel. So hit that like button again, hit that subscribe button, check out the membership for the GOAT James Kingdom platform. As you guys know, we are the best at doing this. So tonight, Travis, we are here to talk about defense. We are here to break down defense so people can understand why Michael Jordan is a top 10 defender of all time, and also why LeBron James is the top 10 defender of all time, because we both have detractors. So we both came up with our own criteria, right? Because we were supposed to formulate something together, but as you can tell, Michael Jordan fans and LeBron fans can never really get together that well. Only a little bit here in GOAT James Kingdom, but not that much. So Travis has his own way of determining who's his top 10. I'm going to show you guys my top 10. We're going to have a great show. So y'all go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I already see there's a few of y'all here in the comments. What up, Twin Man? Peace out to you. Check out to peace out to Twain Gant. Thanks again, y'all. It is the Friday Night Exposure with the Exposer. I'm the Exposer, Johnny. We are here on another Friday night, and we're going to have some fun, ladies and gentlemen. So, Travis, you were challenged, right? What's good? You were challenged. Everybody said, Travis, we want to see your top 10 greatest players of all time as far as defense goes, because you say Michael Jordan's top 10, correct?
Correct. Absolutely.
Okay. So explain why you think Michael Jordan's top 10, and then explain the criteria you're going to use to help us understand why Jordan is the top 10 of all time.
Yes, sir. So, kind of like yourself, and obviously we're going to go over it. I did most impactful defenders of all time as far as interior, and then obviously did the separate for the perimeter guys as well. And according to the criteria I used, Jordan is easily the best perimeter defender of all time. Therefore, to me, he's at least a top 10 all-time defender. Some of the criteria I used for my big men or whatever, you could interchange them with. But since, again, I think he's the best perimeter defender of all time, according to, I think, our completely fair metrics, then I think he's the best defender of all time, and we can definitely go over those.
Twin Man say you capping. Twin Man say you capping. We're going to let you guys get up and have a great conversation with us very shortly here. I'm going to put the link up for everybody. So y'all go ahead and hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button if you have not subscribed to the channel already. Yes, this is the Friday Night Exposure with the Exposer. I'm Johnny, the Exposer, your host, with a special guest, Travis, tonight, because Travis is going to help us understand this. So, Travis, you say Michael Jordan is the top 10 defender of all time. We here at GOAT James Kingdom shoot back at you at all phases of the game. So the metrics you said that you use, what were the metrics again? What are we using to determine all of this? Now you said there's one for interior and then there's one for perimeter. So let's start with perimeter. What are we using for perimeter defenders to grade them?
Yeah, so for perimeter defenders, I used 7, which were, basically all the ones that I thought were fair when ranking a perimeter defender. So I used defensive box plus minus. I use total defensive win shares. I use defensive win shares per season as it occurs with the top 10 guard / perimeter guys. Steals per game percentage. And I threw in defensive rebounding. So I thought that was fair comparing, since if you're going to be mostly on the perimeter or have the ability to play the perimeter a lot, then defensive rebound should count. And then I put in all defensive selections, which is my only or subjective kind of a metric that I used there. Um, and so as that shook out there, uh, I had to kind of go through and sift through all those categories, which was a bitch. And there were really only 10 names that were registered the top 10 in at least you had to do at least two categories, be top 10 in at least two categories to even make this list. And that
Okay.
was that was Mike Scotty, LeBron, Chris Paul, Gary Payton, Mookie Blaylock, Rodman, Stockton, Kobe, and Tony Allen. And then out of those guys, uh, basically if they ranked the highest in those categories, then that was their overall ranking. I called it ACR. So the actual ranking or rating went Mike, Scotty, Chris Paul, LeBron, Stockton, um, let's see, Mookie Blaylock, uh, Kobe, Tony Allen, and then Dennis Rodman. Or I'm sorry, Mookie Blaylock and then Dennis Rodman. So those guys were, and then I'm sorry, Gary Payton was actually ahead of Tony Allen, second to last. So those guys were, they satisfied all the metrics that I was using, and again, they no matter across the board, they registered as top 10 when you compare just again actual guards and or the wing defenders. Which, to be fair, the only wing defenders that weren't guards that I used were players who consistently did that, which was Rodman and LeBron.
Okay. So obviously you only rated 10 players for the top 10. Is that
No,
what
no,
you're
no.
saying?
Those are the 10 players that I found that actually satisfy the criteria.
Okay,
So,
okay,
yeah.
okay. All right. So I put up your top 10 list, right?
Mhm.
So obviously the guys that you mentioned are made the top 10. So go ahead and break down your top 10. If you can see the list, it's there in front of you. Do you see it?
Yeah. So for big men, um, basically the criteria was I think a little bit more objective. So I used mainly the main stat that I used was players' average defense throughout their career relative to league average. So basically, the criteria that I used was you had to be top 10 in either blocks per game, block percentage, uh, defensive win shares per season, and defense over league average. So if you were top 10 in either one of those categories, or not top, but top two, and then the other categories like fell into place. And using those metrics, generally we found that these players had the most measurable impact uh, on the game as well. So I used defensive rating when they joined the team, as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the 2 years before they got there, and then the 2 years after they left. I used the defensive rating of the team after that to basically get who was the best impactful player and who had the lowest DLR compared to the other guys on the list here. And it was really not even close. It was Bill Russell. Uh, Clearly had the biggest impact. Like when you look around, he had um, the lowest sustained DLR, and then like when he left, his teams got horrible. Basically, all these guys: Bill Russell, Hakeem, David Robinson, Ben Wallace actually had that effect for a number of teams. But the reason why he was on here too is because he had some of the lowest uh, or best defenses of all time, if you use that measurement, like on the Pistons and then on the Bulls for 1 year. Same thing with Tim Duncan. He had the lowest score out of anyone, and basically he had the biggest measurable initial impact, and that kind of translated across the board with all these guys. Like they had the lowest impact, the highest DLRs, and they were also really good among blocks and steals. They just satisfied all the entire criteria, and they had the most measurable impact. I'm not going to go into every single number that they did, but
Mm-hmm.
these were the guys who moved the needle the most measurable way defensively during their entire times with their teams, and before and after that team was either measurably worse and then got even worse when they left, or got better when they joined. A mix of that.
Okay. I mean, you got some people up here. There's some eye popping people that popped up on this list.
Yeah,
First, let's start off with Stockton. Now,
yeah.
you already know what Stockton brings up here in this particular category and up in here. How
Mhm.
did Stockton crack the top 10?
So Stockton was actually top 10 in steals per game and steals per game percentage, and when you and also he cracked the top 10 in defensive or not defensive box plus minus, but defensive win shares and defensive win shares per season. So those obviously none of these are like the end all be all,
Mm-hmm.
and it doesn't necessarily. There's a lot of things you could point to with spot defense. That's why defense is way harder to rank than offense because there's so much minutia and everything. But if you show up consistently in all these defensive metrics that are the NBA and everyone else uses, if you just say, you know what, you can't, you're disqualified because I don't like the way you play or the way you look, then you're just being ignorant. And Stockton, the numbers are there, the impact is there, the results are there, and if you stack them up to anyone just using all these metrics across the board, he's not the best defender of all time, like when it comes to it, but he was extremely consistent, and that's why he's, I think, the fourth best perimeter or fifth best, sorry, according to my ranking of all time.
Wow. But okay, but the list you gave me here is different than what you're saying. Is this the right order?
No, it's not the right order. And when I when I said that to you, I again should have had it completely in order. Um,
Okay.
yeah,
All
it's
right. So let's start. Let's start with the first order. What is the top 10 perimeter defenders?
yeah. So the order goes it goes Mike, Scotty, Chris Paul,
Uh huh.
LeBron,
Okay.
Stockton, Mookie Blaylock, uh, Dennis Rodman, Kobe Bryant, Gary Payton, and then Tony Allen.
Wow. 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 Y'all, ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen. Travis. Okay. So with all that you said, LeBron James is a top 5 perimeter defender of all time. Is that what you're saying?
That's exactly correct.
With all your measurements. All
Yeah.
right. So I see also here that you put the big man up here, but I don't see Wilt Chamberlain.
So when I was doing this list there, really, Wilt Chamberlain, I think, is a little bit overrated defensively just because when he was joining teams, in fact, when he joined, first 2 years he joined Philadelphia, they actually got worse defensively. Now, to be fair, what happened also was that when he joined, almost that first and second year, the pace of the league almost doubled. And so, like, you saw a little bit of fluctuation there, but it was really like as far as his defensive comparison and impact to the teams, you really didn't see the same impact that these guys do as far as defense relative to league average. Yeah, he was going to throw up a lot of blocks and everything, but I just think his style of play, and he was a well-known block chaser. He wasn't really fundamentally sound defensively as far as positioning, things of that nature. Like he would get a lot of stats, but his teams weren't really elite defensively or consistently to the point where you know these guys were as far as just overall impact. I'm not saying that he wasn't uh, impactful in the game and defensively on that end. No, but these guys had, in my opinion, a more measurable impact as far as anything you really want to use. Now, Bill Russell, though, on the other hand, is goated.
Oh
This
my
guy's a city
God.
Moncrief hard on you. I love Moncrief, but he didn't show up on any of these lists, man.
Oh my God, Travis, you're killing me with the Wilt Chamberlain hate. Oh my God. Oh God. So obviously you have uh, Michael Jordan ahead of LeBron James. So there's no point of even explaining why. The metrics state that you have Jordan. The question I gotta ask you here, because um, you said something about defensive win share per season. Am I correct?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So if we do that with Michael Jordan, right? Michael
Mm-hmm.
Jordan's defensive win shares for his career is like 64 something, which on
Mm-hmm.
average is like 4.3 per season, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Jordan only has 10 seasons where he actually reached 4.3 defensive win shares or more. So why are you giving Jordan 5 seasons of win shares he did not reach 4.5 or close to 4.5 win shares? That's why I think that's a disingenuous thing, because it is a seasonal stat. So it tells you how good you were per season. And here it is now, you're averaging it out and saying Jordan had basically 15 solid defensive seasons, when in reality he only had like 10 to 12.
Well, I feel like you could say that about a lot of players. That's why I don't think that. I think that in there mainly to kind of offset the totals as well, because LeBron's played. Everyone who's above LeBron in defensive win shares has actually played almost or fewer seasons than him, and so that means they're markedly better defensively. Not really, but just to kind of break it down and give a little bit more context,
Mm-hmm.
especially to the people who are below this. And I did that really to just separate the guards from the big men too, because that's a big men dominated list still, or just people who have played longer. So I did that to put these guys' career in perspective, and I definitely get that. Not everyone's elite defensively their entire year contributing to that, but again, just across the board, that's one of the things that again to only play 15 seasons and still be in the top, top 25 or 30 in defensive win shares is kind of impressive, and especially compared to some of these other names we're seeing. But that's why I have the full 7 categories that I used to give these guys. But you're right, it's definitely not something I consider. Oh, hey, this guy beats him in that. But just to see how high some of these guys were relative to their playing time and the other guys was kind of eye opening.
Oh man, Travis, your list is not bad. As you can see, we got some folks here questioning some people that are not on the list. And obviously, the Wilt Chamberlain one is bad because if you're gonna add Bill Russell, you gotta add Wilt Chamberlain. That is straight up and down. That is just horrible.
Dude,
I can't accept that.
So
I can't
Bill
accept
Russell,
that.
when he joined the Celtics, okay, so the 2 years before that, they were like a +6 as far as league defense wise. So they were terrible. When he joined, they
Yeah.
were #1, and they stayed #1 for like 6 straight years. Then the second he left, they went back to being a bad defensive team. So
No,
and then
no,
his,
yeah, no, but you can't compare it to Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, to say Wilt Chamberlain had no defensive impact at all.
Oh no, that's not what I'm
That-
saying at all. I'm just saying the measurement doesn't make him, in my opinion, top 10 defender interior wise as far as impact goes.
Yeah, because
So, I mean-
he comes in in 1960. They have the second rated defense in basketball. They have the fourth best defense in basketball. The year prior to that, they were third rated, but they were the second best defense in basketball. The year prior to that, 59. So they were number 2 as well in 1958. But that's points per game. They were fourth in defensive rating. So
Yeah.
it looks like he helped them defensive rating wise, but not as far as points per game wise, which is probably true because he probably
the pace
but
went up a little bit too.
But his rebounding is the most important part, and this is the most key part about people don't understand. To end a defensive possession, you must have the ball in your hand, so you must rebound. And Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest rebounder of all time. So now with my criteria, what I did was I didn't include those guys. I didn't include anybody where they didn't allow us to measure their blocks, their steals, and their defensive rebounds. So nobody before 1974 was graded on my greatest defenders of all time. All right, I just didn't do that. Also, your ABA records didn't count as well. The other thing that I did was for you to qualify, you had to have at least 5 all-defensive selections, and you had to have a defensive player of the year, one or the other. So you had to either be a 5-time all-defensive player or have a defensive player of the year for me to even consider you and grade you. Now, I did the same thing you did, Travis. I put an interior defender versus perimeter defenders. I separated them. Now, the way I did this was, we're going to do this like we did the GOAT James Kingdom top 50 greatest players formula, where we're going to measure all the players by the greatest accomplishments in each category. So I measured blocks, steals, and defensive rebounds in totals. And then I also measured their steals per game and their blocks per game. I put that all into one category for their stats for the regular season and the postseason. And then I also did your advanced metrics, which are going to be your defensive rating, your defensive win shares, your defensive box plus minus, your defensive rebound percentage, your steals rate, and your block rate. So those were also put into one category. And then your accolades, which is defensive player of the year, all defensive teams, and either if you're a big man, your block titles, and if you're a perimeter player, it's going to be steals titles. So now I separated everybody by perimeter players and interior players. If you're a guard or a small forward, you're a perimeter player. If you're a power forward or a center, you're considered an interior player, and you will be judged and graded by those kind of categories. So I separated everything. So as an example, steals. The most steals for big men is Akeem Olajuwon with 2,000 steals. He has 2,100 steals for his career. So all big men will be graded towards Akeem Olajuwon steals instead of John Stockton's 3,200 steals.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? And as far as blocks go, everybody's blocks for big men are going to be rated towards Akeem Olajuwon, which has over 3,800. But if you're a perimeter player, your blocks are going to be graded towards, if I have it correct, it's I believe it's Dr. J with 1,200 blocks. So I counted Dr. J's numbers, and those are his NBA numbers. That doesn't even count his ABA numbers. Because obviously, anything after 1974, I didn't count nothing ABA. So 1,200 is the most blocks for anybody who's considered a perimeter player. So that's how I judged everybody. I graded everybody off of that. So basically, when you do that, you get a chance to understand which is the better player. And this is the other thing that I like, the GOAT James top 50 greatest formula, is that we can use it for anything. We can use it for anything. Now, another thing about grading defensive players is that it's hard because there's a lot of subjectivity in grading players.
Yeah.
So, and we're gonna show this because Herm said something. Shout out to Herm, who's also in the comments. Pee Wee Herman, as we all know it, everybody know who Pee Wee Herman is. We had a debate a few weeks back, or maybe a while back. But he stated stats don't say everything. I would agree when it comes to defense, it doesn't state everything. But to dismiss Stockton's numbers, because you don't like that Stockton is a dominant defender, is a problem. Whatever your eye test is telling you, you should recognize John Stockton defensively. If the metrics stated, if the stats stated, then John Stockton is obviously a great defender. He has 5 all-defensive selections in the tough 90s, which y'all call the toughest era ever. But for me, right, when I did my criteria and I graded everything, this is what I came up with, all right? These are the top 10 greatest players of all time when we're talking about using my criteria and the metrics that I brought up. So let's start off with the fact that on the left side, you see other perimeter guys. LeBron James is the best player perimeter-wise because LeBron James's numbers as a perimeter defender blows out everybody else in the water. The closest thing to him was Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen. So LeBron James' defense is obvious and it's there and it's glaring right there on the stats and accolades wise, right? Then you have Jordan, Pippen, Kawhi Leonard, Chris Paul, Jason Kidd, Kobe Bryant, Alvin Robertson, John Stockton made it, and Butler made it. Jimmy Butler made it. Now I do have some honorable mentions for the perimeter guys, such as Gary Payton, who didn't crack the top 10 list. Also, Tony Allen didn't top the top 10 list. Who else didn't crack top 10 list? Sidney Moncrief also didn't get a chance to score high enough to crack the top 10 list. Those are other guys that I scored that did not reach the right numbers. Also, Bruce Bowens and Michael Cooper did not reach the higher number to pass Jimmy Butler. So Jimmy Butler ended up being top 10. Now, it is a limited list because I only graded 15 players in the perimeter. But if we go to the interior, like I told you, the interior guys, Akeem Olajuwon is considered the greatest defender. I don't know what to say about it. That guy is incredible. So then you have Ben Wallace, then you have David Robinson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Tim Duncan, then you have Kevin Garnett, Dwight Howard, Dikembe Mutombo, Mark Eaton, and Draymond Green cracked the top 10. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, where is Dennis Rodman? Dennis Rodman is considered an interior defender under my criteria, and he did not crack the top 10 list. The other guys that did not crack the top 10 list as far as being an interior defender were also, let me see here. I have Dennis Rodman, right? I have Bobby Jones, who didn't crack the top list as well. Who are the other players? Alonzo Mourning didn't make it. Giannis didn't make it. Rudy Gobert didn't make it. These were all guys that I graded, and they just didn't score high enough to get ahead of Draymond Green. So when we measure all of these players by the stats that I'm using here, you can literally see how great of a player that these guys are, because the stats say that they are great players. And the thing about Dennis Rodman is I noticed that Dennis Rodman really didn't do anything. He doesn't get a lot of steals. He doesn't get a lot of blocks. He doesn't get a lot of defensive rebounds. He got selected to the all-defensive team 8 times. He got 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards. But the stats, the advanced metrics, nothing says Dennis Rodman was a great defender. Nothing at all. And I didn't even think Kobe Bryant was going to be able to crack the list, but Kobe Bryant did crack the list. Because a lot of the stuff that Kobe Bryant did, I wouldn't think is up there as well. So when we're separating these players, like I separated them, this is what I got with the top 10 list. So what do you think of my top 10 list there, Travis?
I think it's a good list. I mean, it's hard to argue any name. I mean, obviously they're all elite defenders, no matter how you slice it. Um, it's just, yeah. I mean, a lot of the same names that I have up here. Obviously, it's just really the order. You know, I didn't. A lot of them could be interchangeable. I mean, obviously, I don't know how Jimmy Butler's a top 10 all time perimeter defender. I know he's really good.
He slightly made it in. He slightly made it because he gets steals. He has play again. Your playoff numbers matters as well because I'm counting your playoff numbers, and your playoffs are being graded towards the playoff accomplishments. So he has good playoff numbers. He has good advanced metrics because he hasn't played that many games. So he has all defensive selections. He has a steals title. You see what I'm saying?
Definitely.
So he has these things. So he cracked it again. If I grade more players, he probably will get knocked off. But for the players that I graded, he made the top 10.
Yeah, yeah. It's all about what you're using to grade them, and it's a real no-worry answer. I think that especially the big men, what I was really using was, a mix of what their impact was initially over or throughout their entire stay with those teams on the defensive rating initially, and then after, and then the defense while they were there, and how can you measure that? And so most of these guys that I have like markedly improve their teams defensively in every way you want to measure. Is put points per game allowed, defensive rating, both when they came there and left. Really, the only exception to that one I have on here, and I put a big asterisk here, was Tim Duncan. He had one of the biggest impacts you've ever seen when he joined the team. But when he left, they basically stayed the same because they were so loaded defensively, with Kawhi Leonard coming in there and a lot of other guys. Other than that, though, the guys I have on my list, even Dikembe Mutombo, when he played like 5 different teams, he affected them all in a very measurable way. And then even when he left, you saw some differentiation there. But good list all around. I mean, I love that we both have Mark Eaton. I think he's a little slept on. And
well, I didn't think he was going to crack
too.
it either. Yeah, I wasn't thinking he's going to crack it either, but he leads in blocks per game all-time in NBA history. He has over 3,000 blocks in his NBA career. He has a Defensive Player of the Year award. So he has some metrics. And again, that's the thing I said. When I was looking at all of these metrics, when you're looking at like big men, it's like I said, with the defensive rebounding and the blocks and the steals, Akeem Olajuwon was just ahead of the measurements. He was the guy that was measured to most of the time. So all these guys are being measured towards Akeem Olajuwon and LeBron, basically. Because even when we go to the perimeter, LeBron in the playoffs, he has the most steals, blocks, and defensive rebounds as a perimeter player. He has the best defensive. Okay. He has the best defensive rebounding and the best defensive win shares and metrics. So and when it comes to the playoffs, he scored the highest out of anybody. So LeBron James, when it comes to playoffs, like y'all said, when it matters the most, LeBron James steps his game up the most, and he steps up defensively. So he was ahead of the metrics, and just like Akeem Olajuwon, everything, it was the steals, the blocks, all the metrics were measuring everybody towards Akeem Olajuwon, the average steals per game, the average, you know what I'm saying? Like, so Akeem Olajuwon was by far the best rated defender out of everybody that I rated here. He was just by far. And this is the thing. Even if I took LeBron James and put him in as an interior defender, he would still score high because he's going to be high in steals and he still rebounds.
Yeah,
so he's going to. So it was completely incredible to see all of these numbers and put it all together, because at the end of the day, it really proves LeBron James is a top 10 defender of all time, and basically he's better than Michael Jordan. What I got out of all of this is that Michael Jordan is the greatest defender guard-wise, as far as shooting guards and point guards. He's the greatest guard defender of all time, but he's not the greatest perimeter defender of all time. That would be GOAT James, obviously.
I mean, we'll talk about that, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. But I also came up with my top 10 all-time list. Now remember, I didn't count Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain. Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain to me are 1 and 2, hands down. I don't need the metrics to tell me anything. Even if the metrics were there, those two would be the 2 greatest defenders of all time, hands down. There would be no questions asked. But when I did my list, after grading everybody by what they are as far as perimeter players and interior players, I decided to take their scores and see who would be the overall top 10 players of all time. And when I do that, this is what I come up with. These are my top 10 greatest defenders of all time based off of the metrics Travis gave me and using the GOAT James Kingdom top 50 greatest players formula to come up with these scores. So if you look at the score, Akeem Olajuwon blew everybody out the water. He's the greatest defender of all time when we do not count the 60s or the pre ABA era. Okay, we were talking about post merger era. It's Akeem Olajuwon hands down. Then we have Ben Wallace. Then it's LeBron James. Surprisingly, LeBron James and Michael Jordan reached the top 5 greatest defenders of all time. Even if we added Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell, they will be right there in the top 5 because basically they're 0.03 points away. Do you see that, Travis?
Yeah, that's close.
And I triple checked, double checked the numbers to make sure that there were not any faults or anything in my math here when I did this. They are legitimately 0.03 points away from each other with the metrics that I used.
So Jordan's a top 5 defender. I knew it.
He is he's a top 5 defender. Then we have David Robinson to end it off at the top 5. Then it's Kareem, Tim Duncan, Scottie Pippen, Kevin Garnett, and Dwight Howard and Kawhi Leonard tied at 10 with 29.33. So that's what ended up being the score that I had for my top 10 greatest defenders of all time. So it looks like between both of our metrics, both Michael Jordan and LeBron James are top defenders of all time, top 10, top 5 in reality. When we really break it down. So I'm gonna actually bring up the links so that you guys could actually join Travis and I. So what do you think of this top 10 list here, Travis?
I think it's good. I mean, I've reviewed, like I said, I remember the show about your criteria, and I agree with it for the most part. And it's like, you know, because you can apply it to virtually anyone, and everyone on the list is, you know, obviously a GOAT defender. But I definitely agree that, like, I've always said that those guys are who you want. You really can't go wrong. And I've always said that LeBron was, especially in his prime, that's where he put up the majority of those numbers and win shares. That's where you could argue that he's a top 5 defender of all time, especially from like 08 to 15 or whatever it was. So I'm not really mad at any of that. And, you know, it's a tough list. Very tough.
Yeah, man. Listen, again, this is grading a total of what is it, 28 players? 29 players total. I didn't grade a large list of players. Like I said, there's some honorable mentions, some guys that didn't get a chance to crack those guys who made the top 10. But if we take the 2 top 10 lists from the perimeter and interior players and we graded all of their scores, who scored the highest, these are the guys that scored the top 10 highest out of all the guys that I graded. Now, mind you, if you look at the list, you can really see it. Like I said, LeBron is the most versatile defender of all time outside of, obviously, Akeem Olajuwon, because Akeem Olajuwon is way much more elite interior than LeBron is in the perimeter. But he's still a versatile defender. Then Jordan's also a versatile defender because as a 6'6" shooting guard, Jordan is actually a large, not large, but has a big stature, pause. So he actually is capable of doing a lot more than just steals as a guard. So that's why he has rebounds and blocks as well, which helps him get up there. We know Scottie Pippen's dynamic as a defender perimeter wise, and then we have Kawhi Leonard. So again, you can see that this type of criteria I had does not predicate towards point guards as much because they do not block and get rebounds as much as people like a Michael Jordan or a Scottie Pippen or LeBron James. But that's the only thing that I find a flaw is that point guards, which I believe is just as important as the big man as the center, because your point guard's defense is the number one thing. The guy who can stop somebody on the point guard is the number one thing. So I think that's very, very, very important. So, but I'll put up the link, and I see we got some folks here. We're gonna have a great conversation here, and we're gonna break down how Michael Jordan did not pass LeBron James, and we lost everything that way. But it's definitely a great list. Let's bring up Twin Man. What up, Twin Man? How you doing, my brother? What's good, bro?
Hey, what up, man? What's up? So
nothing much, brother.
I actually like both lists, and I also agreed with your first statement, Johnny, that it's hard to judge defense. It's very subjective because it's what are you going to lean on more? Because I think, honestly, rebounding, I understand steals ends a possession, but rebounds also ends a possession. So what are you going to lean towards more? A block, it's very subjective, but I do like both lists. I was shocked by a lot of the names. I thought like Sidney Moncrief was going to be in there. I actually thought like somebody like Joe Dumars was going to be on there. I'm not. I was shocked by that. So there's a lot of people that I thought that was going to be like Alonzo Mourning. Like
Mm-hmm.
again, I'm shocked by a lot of names that's not in either of y'all top 10 lists. But again, if that's why
Right.
criteria matter.
Yeah.
That's why criteria matter. Because if you're going purely by eye test,
Mm-hmm.
everybody's top 10 is going to differ. That's why criteria really truly matters. I actually appreciate y'all putting the time and the effort into this, but as we already knew, Jordan was not better than LeBron James, and Travis eat that shit. Just eat it.
I guess.
Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead. Respond, Travis. I'm listening.
Oh no, I mean, like I said, we appreciate that, and yeah, it took a lot of work. Those names you mentioned, like Joe Dumars and like Moncrief, all those guys. I actually looked specifically for those guys and compared them here just to make sure that I was being accurate with the
Mm-hmm.
criteria that I was using. And you're right, eye test is, especially on defense, I think it means more than offense because there's not really one number you can point to, especially when you're comparing those two guys or two sides of the ball as far as like bigs and perimeter guys and say that guy is dominating here, so he's the better. It's just so much more nuanced than that, and
Right.
definitely not
Like some
perfect,
like
but yeah,
I just knew like Dennis Rodman was gonna be on the list because he was like 7-time rebound champ or some shit like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I just knew he was gonna be on there. And when
Hmm.
he's not on the list, anybody, I think he made your list,
He
one of
made my
your
list,
lists.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah, but when I saw A Johnny's list, I was like, damn, like Rodman's like
yeah,
it bugged me out. But then it's like it has to go by the numbers, it has to go by the criteria. And
yeah. You have
that's
to
why
stick
I
to it.
appreciate right.
That's why
That's why I
I used
appreciate the
seven.
criteria.
I used 7 metrics to try and like weed out everything. So that was like okay.
How many of it was steals? How many of it was steals? Tell the truth.
Two of them were steals because we're talking
I
perimeter.
knew it. I knew it. I knew it.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Friday Night Exposure with the Exposure. We have a special show with a special guest, Travis, here. We got Craig and King Money Fly also joining the panel. Thank you
What's
guys
up?
for joining us on a Friday night. What's good, y'all? Also, y'all check out the poll question. I just added a poll. Whose list and criteria is better between Travis and I? So y'all go ahead and hit that and answer the question there. Appreciate you, Twin Man. What up, Craig, man? We haven't seen you in a while, brother. What's good, man? You're on mute. You're on mute. Unmute yourself. I got you. Well, hold on, wait. Let me. There you go. You
Yeah,
unmuted. What's good? What's
yeah.
good, bro? What's up? What's
I'm
up, Craig?
I'm in Atlanta right now. I've been away with the family. Y'all know what I told y'all earlier, so y'all know what's going on. So I
Yeah,
just
brother.
pop
Yeah,
up.
man. Yeah, it's good to see you, man. So we were challenging Travis because Travis said Jordan's the top 10 defender of all time, and by my criteria and his criteria, Jordan is. What do you think of this whole idea of them challenging us while the stats say Jordan is the top 10 defender all time?
Listen, we had that episode. What did what y'all was going with? Jordan was overrated. Y'all make a list of these top 10. Like, come on.
No, he was overrated because supposedly he was it wasn't top 10. People were saying he was top 5.
This list
We
says he's number 4.
yeah, this does says he's number 4, but again, it is a limited list because like I said, it doesn't include Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell. So if we included those two, it would knock him out of the top 5 technically. But there are other players that we couldn't grade. Like I said, you can't grade Casey Jones. We can't grade John Havlicek.
Havlicek.
We can't grade Jerry West. You see what I'm saying? There's a lot of players that we're missing out on that we really can't grade on. And I know there was some other players like Elvin Hayes, Artis Gilmore. There's some other players that I could probably add to the list that would probably change a lot of these dynamics
Nate
because
Thurman
they
was
have
up there.
Nate Thurman as well. Yeah.
You ain't what's Sidney Moncrief? Huh? What
Yeah,
would we be on your list?
We both graded Sidney Moncrief. He did not crack the top 10.
That's crazy.
He did not crack the top 10. Sidney Moncrief scored an 18.44. I believe he scored the least score out of everybody. Again, he didn't play that many playoff series. That's another thing too. That's what hurts him. So let me give y'all an example of what I mean so y'all can understand what I'm talking
How
about.
you get these numbers though? What criteria? How you come up with these numbers?
It's similar to what we did with the GOAT James Kingdom top 50 greatest players of all time. So everybody was measured towards the greatest accomplishment based off of steals, blocks, defensive rebounds, steals per games, blocks per games, advanced defensive metrics and accolades, right? And everybody was graded by their regular season, postseason, and obviously their accolades were all separated. So that's what ended up happening. So someone like a Sidney Moncrief might have scored well in regular season and accolades, but he didn't play that well in the playoffs, or didn't have that many playoff games, so his numbers don't match well against other people in the playoffs. So he hurt himself in those type of categories.
So
So
how
as
many
you
of these top 10 defenders are from the 90s and 80s?
well, that's a great question. On Travis's list, we have Jordan Pippen is 90s, Gary Payton is 90s, Mookie Blaylock's 90s, Rodman's 90s, Payton is 90s. That's it. I mean, Stockton is 90s. So we got 6 90s players out of 10 perimeter players, and then for how we got here, we got Patrick Ewing, Mutombo, Akeem, David Robinson. So that's four out of 6. So he has half of them. 10 for him is 10. Am I wrong here, guys? Anybody see my numbers? They're wrong here. There's 10 90s guys, right? All together.
Yeah, without interlapping. Yeah, something like.
Right, and then for me, what we have here, we have Jordan Pippen, Stockton. Can we count Jason Kidd as a 90s guy?
Yeah, he's 90s.
90s,
He's a
okay.
90s guy.
Akeem Olajuwon, David Robinson, Mutombo. So I have less 90s players, correct? I got Draymond Green up there, Jimmy Butler up there. I got Kawhi Leonard up there. I don't know what Travis was doing leaving out these 2010s players and bringing in Stockton.
Yeah. and the Wilt Chamberlain slander needs to stop, Travis. How dare you?
It's not
Travis?
slander though, man. Like,
hold on, before I let you two go at it again, let's let King Money fly. And what up, King Money fly? What you got for me, brother? What do you think of the list?
What's going on? I think the list are fire, man. I think they fire. Where Ron Artest at, man? He didn't make it.
No, Ron Artest didn't make it. When I went and looked at his numbers, he doesn't have enough defensive selections. He doesn't have. I mean, he has enough defensive selections to be graded, but he doesn't have. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't have no steals titles. He don't. You know what I'm saying? He didn't have an illustrious career playoff wise. So he probably wouldn't have cracked. He wouldn't have got over Jimmy Butler. So I just didn't grade him. But he's another honorable mention. He's somebody that was available to be graded. Again, I can grade some of these guys. But I had a short time span. I had to do 30 guys within like 4 or 5 days, guys. It's not easy.
Facts. Well, I appreciate it, man. Put in that work, man, and to give the public the information, man. You know what I'm saying? I was going to ask you something. You know how many people that got more All NBA defensive teams than LeBron? That's guards, wings.
Like 3 or 4.
No. You have. Let me see. You have Kawhi Leonard. You have Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Gary Payton, Jason Kidd, Chris Paul, Kobe Bryant. Did I mention him? So you have some guys that have more than him, that have more than 6. A lot of them are tied with 9 or 8.
No, I'm talking about like first. Well, we is talking about first team, but I think it's only 8 though. I had looked it up, so it's like regardless.
No. First team, first team. Yeah, there's not too many guys that have more. Yeah,
it's only 8, so it's like regardless, either way you slice it out, LeBron still he top 10 somewhere around there, like defensive. You know what I mean? Like even if you cut it by the NBA first teams, he still is only 8/wing guards that got more All NBA first teams than him all time. It's only 8. You know what I'm saying? Like, and it's some tie with him, and with 5, Bruce Bowen or whatever, Michael Cooper. You know what I'm saying? But it's only 8 other players. You know what I'm saying? So for them to be saying like he really don't play defense and all that, I just don't be understanding that. You know what I mean? Like, and like you say, you prove all week after week, like with evidence, like it's say different. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say, man, shout out to y'all, man. Y'all keep doing y'all, man.
Yeah, no, I
what it
appreciate
is, it's not even the all defensive selection. It's going to be the postseason. It's going to really be the postseason for LeBron because he's killing it in the postseason. He's putting up monster numbers when it comes to blocks, steals, and rebounds.
Yeah, he does everything on the basketball court. That's the thing that people don't want to accept, that he just does everything on the basketball court. He's not the greatest at everything, but he can do everything well. So the fact that once he sits in his chair and he decides to do what he does, especially like I said in the playoffs, he completely steps up in the playoffs. As you can see, his score goes up in the playoffs because His metrics are just there. He averages more blocks. He averages more steals. He leads the NBA in most steals in NBA history. He has the most defensive rebounds in NBA history in the playoffs as well. And like I tell people, they say because he played more games, you cannot use that in the playoffs because the only way to play more games in the playoffs is to win. So that means you're just agreeing to how much of a winner LeBron James is. Hey, shout out to Adrian Knight. Again, Sidney Moncrief and Tony Allen were scored. They did not crack the top 10 perimeter defenders of all time. They just don't have the stats. Again, a part of defense is the eye test. That's why players like Dennis Rodman, Draymond Green, PJ Tucker, Shane Battier, Tony Allen, Bruce Bowens, a lot of these guys' stats don't show as great as defenders as they were because, again, there's no measurement for staying in front of your defender and contesting shots and making it hard to catch the ball off of screen, running through screens. Things like that are hard to measure. We cannot show how much those players affect somebody on the offensive side by them doing those things. So at the end of the day, these are what the stats say. These are what the metrics say. Right. But even with the stats and the eye test, GOAT James is a top 10 defender of all time. If not, he's top 5, just like they want to put Jordan. Wherever you want to put Jordan, you got to put LeBron right there, if not ahead of Jordan. That's just the facts. If you don't like it, you have now been exposed by the exposer. I don't have nothing else to tell you.
Gotta agree with you, man. By my own research, it's true.
Yeah, I do have to say this though. Mm-hmm. One thing you did say, Johnny, that's true. Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain would be like 1A, 1B. Because if they really did count everything Wilt did, this isn't even a conversation.
Yeah, they're the two greatest defenders by far.
It would. Mm-hmm. Can you imagine how many blocks he had that they just don't count?
All right, True Man. You see how high Akeem scored, right? Okay, right. That's because Akeem is number 1 in steals. He's number 1 in blocks when it comes to a big man, right? But both Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell would have over 2,000 steals easily, and they would both have over 3,800 blocks easily. Yeah. So and then their rebounds are there. They're already there ahead of rebounding. So with the amount of shots that were missed in their era, that if they both have 20,000 rebounds plus, which is actually 22,000 rebounds plus, at least half of them are defensive rebounds, if not more. And the most defensive rebounds for a big man was Kevin Garnett, which is 11,400. So they would also have the most defensive rebounds as well. So by far, they would have been the measurement for everybody else that's a big man, and everybody else would have scored lower. So again, the way the metrics works with the GOAT James Kingdom formula, the highest score you could have got as a player is 50. A player that scores a 50 would be the greatest player across all metrics. Mm-hmm. So basically, Akeem Olajuwon is 80% of the greatest defender of all time. I would think Bill Russell and Wilt Chamberlain would probably be the closest to getting to 50.
They probably would have scored like a 45, probably even like a 47. Easy.
Yeah.
Easily.
I have Bill as the greatest.
Yeah. And as far as the metrics goes for perimeter players, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, LeBron James blow everybody else out the water. Because once you get outside of Kawhi Leonard, which scored 29 points, the next player is Chris Paul and Jason Kidd, which scored 26 and 25 points. Then Kobe scored 24 points. Robertson scored 23. Stockton scored 23, and then you get to 21. So you don't get that many players out above 25. In the top 10 of the interior players, all of them got over 25 points.
Mm-hmm. Can we also stop with this delusion that Kobe Bryant was this dog down defender? He just wasn't. I'm not saying Kobe couldn't play defense.
The stats say it. He made the top
I'm sorry,
10.
no, man. That's one name. I'm sorry. I'm shocked. He's in the top 10. I'm shocked. I'm sorry.
He has the 12 selections, right? He has the 12 selections. Now, mind you, Kobe has a minus defensive box plus minus for his career.
Right. You love my ranking, Twin Man, because I have that factored in. I have him dead last in DPM, which is part of my ranking. That's why I have it. He goes, I mean, he's like number 8 or 9 as far as like the wings go. And so, I mean, that's, the top 5.
When I saw Kobe Bryant's name in the greatest and on both y'all lists, man, stop.
The hate can only go so far, though. Come on.
I was like, man, stop it. No, like I'm not
No,
saying Kobe
you
couldn't
got
play
to give
defense,
Kobe
but
his
he's
props,
definitely
man.
not a top 10 greatest defenders of all time, bro.
You got to give him his props. He scored high on my
Perimeter.
list. I don't see how any other perimeter player could knock him and get above 25. I don't know who. I don't think Artest is gonna have the numbers. I don't know who I can grade. Dumars. None of those guys have enough. Dumars has less all defensive selections than LeBron. How is he going to
What?
crack the list? He doesn't have no steals titles. He doesn't have none of these things. So it's like we're just grading. And mind you, a lot of these guys are being graded because of who they were able to shut down. So Dumars and Rodman are praised because they shut Jordan down. Tony Allen is praised because supposedly he shuts Kobe down. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Durant,
you know what I'm saying? Exactly. Like
Say Durant.
none of this is predicated. Now, mind you, I mean, there's some young guys. Giannis didn't crack the list. Bam didn't crack the list. A lot of these guys couldn't crack the list yet.
Well, they
because
haven't really played long
Yeah,
enough
they
to
haven't
really
played
crack the
long
list
enough.
yet.
Yeah, they haven't cracked the list yet. So
To be fair,
I
these
think when
guys I
their
have on my
careers
list
are all
are
said and done,
yeah.
I can see. I don't think Bam will be a top 10. I can see Giannis being probably creeping in there in the top 10.
Mm-hmm.
I could possibly see that. Like all the players like Wemby. Wemby could if Wemby has 10 solid good years, God knows how many blocks and rebounds he's gonna put up.
Well, he's number one in the block percentage right now in
Right.
history. So
Yeah, he's phenomenal, man.
And it's not even like he's getting blocks on just the interior. He's blocking shots on the perimeter.
So, just want to say this really fast. Like, there's a lot of people saying Pippen, why isn't he higher? Why isn't he better than Jordan? Listen, I sympathize, but it's the same reason why you can't say that Kobe Bryant's a better defender than LeBron James. To make an argument like that, you have to ignore everything that's measurable. You have to ignore stats. You have to ignore entire resumes. You have to ignore accolades and achievements. He's in a clear Kobe in steals per game, blocks per game, win shares per season, whatever you want to name it. Again, he's going to be better than him in every way you can possibly measure. If you want to make those comparisons, the same way with Mike and Scotty, you're going to just simply say, I'm going to use the eye test. I'm going to go ahead and say, we can't use any of the stats because it goes against my narrative. And so that's the only thing you're going to use to make your point. Those guys are simply better, and it can be proved, just like it's being done right now.
Well, I think
What is
what's
Danny
hurt.
Mac talking about?
Yeah, he's mad because I said that Joe Dumars and Rodman shut down
But they
Jordan.
kind of did. They
did.
kind of did.
They kind of did. I can show you a Sports Illustrated showing it to you that Joe Dumars
Jordan
shut
said
down
Dumars was the GOAT defender on him.
Yeah. The thing about I think Scottie Pippen, I think that the reason he didn't get a chance to surpass Michael Jordan, obviously Jordan has all the accolades. That's what helped Jordan out. It wasn't really his stats. And Scottie Pippen missing the Defensive Player of the Year and only having one steals title is not enough. But again, we all know Scottie Pippen is one of the most versatile defenders ever. So bringing up like his our subjective takes in this, right? Bringing up stuff that we really can't measure. We could probably say Scottie Pippen is better than both LeBron and Jordan, but the
for sure.
metrics and the stats don't say that. So, but you got back here, Craig. What up, Craig?
I mean, you could say that, but then again, the difference between Pippen and LeBron and Jordan is that LeBron and Jordan carry the offensive side too. So they the same amount of energy that the Pippen was putting on defense, they was putting on defense and offense.
You know what? I'm glad that you brought that up because I was actually thinking about that. If you really think about it, players like a Rodman, P.J. Tucker, Draymond Green, the fact that they know night in and night out they're more responsible for what they do on the defensive side is an advantage to them on defense because like Craig said, they don't have to worry about their load on offense. They don't have to worry about when it's time for them to take their shots. Because you understand what I say? Especially when you want to be a jump shooter like Michael Jordan, you have to have your legs underneath you. You understand what I'm trying to say? You don't want to get tired trying to chase around and do so many things. So I agree that Scottie Pippen did not have the offensive responsibilities Jordan had. A lot of these great defenders we talk about don't have the double-sided factor. So being that Jordan and
That
LeBron
man averaged 33 steals.
Yeah, no. You're right, Craig, you're right.
How many defensive players average 30? How many players that won a Defensive Player of the Year award average 30 or led the league in scoring that year?
Wilt Chamberlain is the only one. Wilt Chamberlain.
That was actually an incredible take, Craig.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean that's a great point. Like I said, it makes a great point. That's another thing about defense. But again, Jordan and LeBron are elite defenders. We have to just leave it alone. They're top 10. You guys, everybody got to just leave it alone. That's it. They're top 10 defenders of all time. Yes, we said it. And guess what? John Stockton is in the top 10. Yeah.
That's right.
Bang, bang. Bang, bang.
Wait,
bang,
he was
bang.
30. John Stockton,
man.
top
I mean,
10.
he had to be in top 10. He was in the playoffs for like 18 years straight.
Hey, listen, he made both Travis's and I list. He made both of them. He made my top 10 perimeter of all time. He also made Travis's top 10 of all time. I think Travis even has him higher than 8th, I think. So, because Travis gave me the wrong information, like Jordan fans love to do, giving out wrong information. Sending out the false information. So, but yeah, man, I mean, ladies and gentlemen, you know, it is the Friday Night Exposure with the Exposure. You guys hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Don't be afraid to become a member of the channel. Thanks for actually joining the membership there, Travis. I got a hat and a shirt coming to you very shortly. Ladies and gentlemen, please be patient with me with the hats. I'm trying to get everything sent out. I have
Yo,
shirts.
I want a hat that says GOAT James Kingdom Jordan Delegate on it. I don't want no just go. You ain't gonna have me with a GOAT James Kingdom hat.
All right, Craig, we got to talk about that. You got to sign up for the membership as well. So again,
Oh yeah,
y'all
I'm gonna do that.
We're not asking for too much. You know, we don't have a Cash App donation, nothing like that. You just become a GOAT James Kingdom member. We're going to continually give you guys good content. We're going to do exclusive stuff for all our members. And as you guys know, man, we do it best here in GOAT James Kingdom. So, but you know, again, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you didn't hit it already. It is the Friday Night Exposure with the Exposure. I got a special panel here. We're not doing one-on-ones because nobody really wants to challenge me. So Friday Night Exposure is going to open up a little bit more to our panel here. And we have some great guys here. So we're going to have some last final words before we get up out of here. King Fly, you got any last words before we get up out of here, brother?
Man. Nah, man, to stay up, man. Y'all keep doing y'all, man. LeBron is a GOAT, man. That's for Travis. LeBron a GOAT.
The GOAT. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. What happened to Craig? I don't know if Craig... Yeah, there you go, Craig.
I don't know. This is why I don't like using my phone. I keep getting a phone call and answering it automatically.
You're a busy man. You're a busy man on a Friday night. So let's let you get your last words in so that we can let you go. Because I'm going to let Twin Man and Travis get a little something in here before we get up out of here. But what you got for us, Craig, before we get up out of here, brother?
Now, I was going to say something, but I forgot. But I just got one question. Are y'all really done with the 90s? It seems like y'all not. Yeah.
I'm done with the 90s.
I'm going to say y'all infatuated with the... I'm going to say y'all infatuated with the 90s. Infatuation with the 90s.
Listen. First it was Jordan's left hand. Now it's Puff Daddy. Now it's Diddy. The 90s... The 90s
Everything
is
they said
crumbling.
Puff did, he did it in the 2010s. Everything he did, none of this was in the 90s. He wasn't in the 90s.
He been doing that since back then. He been doing it since the 90s. That's why Biggie had a crooked eye. He had to keep one eye on Puffy and the other eye on his records. He had to keep an eye on all of that.
Don't do Biggie like that, bro.
Casey was upset when the Heat repeated.
Man, you know what's crazy? There's a video of LeBron on an Instagram live with Puffy talking about Puff Daddy's parties. And
he's like, ain't no party like a Diddy party.
Yeah, and behind Puff Daddy, if you look at that video, it's nothing but like teenage boys. It looks so creepy. It looks, legitimately, there's like 6 or 7, like 18, 19-year-olds, 17-year-olds behind him. It's
you
really,
never seen Jordan at no Diddy party.
It's real. So, but hey, Wayne, to become a member of GOAT James Kingdom, you have to go to a computer or your laptop. Go to our channel, and when you go to our channel, right there next to the our name, it'll say join, and you click that tab, it'll show you the membership. We have 3 separate tiers. You can become a member of our channel. We have different things for y'all. Obviously, we got hats and shirts for those with the right tiers. Everybody else, check out their perks because we'll check it out. You can always hit us up at goatjameskingdom@gmail.com or goatjameskingdomshow at gmail.com. That's how you reach both Brandon and I here in GOAT James Kingdom. So, Twin Man, what do you got for us here? I know you got some last words for Travis.
Oh, I'm out, y'all.
All right, Craig, man. Shout out to Craig, man. Good seeing you, brother. Stay blessed, brother. Peace up, brother. Stay good, brother.
Y'all have a happy Easter and all that good stuff.
Yes,
for those that celebrate.
Enjoy your holiday, brother. Appreciate you.
So I'm gonna honestly sit here and say I thought Travis was gonna come up here with some bullshit list. I was waiting for him to have some bullshit on there. I'm not gonna even lie. I was waiting. But then I saw his list and he ran down his criteria, even though I knew at least two. He's like, I have 7 categories. And before he even said the categories, I was like, I know 2 of them shits is gonna have to do something with steals. That's how Jordan's gonna be on the top of this. 2 of them categories is gonna have to do something with steals. And I was right. 2 of them had to be something with steals. I was still shocked at a lot of the names, especially on the only name that shocked me on Travis's list was Kobe Bryant. I wasn't shocked that Mookie Blaylock was on there, or like Rodman was on there, or even Tony Allen. Who shocked me for the big men though, even though he did his thing in the '90s and when he was in the league, Patrick Ewing. I didn't think he was going to crack the top 10, even though I'm a Knicks fan. I didn't think he was going to do it. But then I understood why y'all didn't use, even though then he had the Wilt slander, and it's like, for you to sit here and say these things about Wilt Chamberlain, bro, like you really just don't understand the damage this man did on the court. Because honestly, if they counted all of his numbers, if there was a way to track every rebound, block, and steal Wilt Chamberlain had, hands down, greatest defender ever. There could be no argument. The numbers he put up, it'd be like LeBron's 40,000. Like for real, the numbers he put up would be like LeBron's 40,000.
It is
for
straight
each of these
facts.
categories.
Straight fact. There was a story that was told by Larry Brown on how Magic Johnson used to play those UCLA games, and there was once, it was in the mid '80s. He was playing against Wilt Chamberlain, and Wilt Chamberlain was playing with the UCLA team, and he blocked Magic Johnson's shot for a game-winning shot. Magic Johnson called like goaltending or something like that on Wilt Chamberlain. And Wilt Chamberlain was like, "Nah, that's not goaltending." And Magic was like, "Yeah, that was goaltending. That was goaltending." Wilt Chamberlain said, "Nah." They argued for a little bit. Wilt Chamberlain said, "Okay, no problem." He says, "Listen, let's run it again. Let's have another game. I'm going to pick these guys." And they played, and nobody scored again. Every shot that went up, Wilt Chamberlain blocked. Supposedly, that's what happened. So, again, when we talk about incredible stories and things of that nature, Wilt Chamberlain is the myth of all myths, man. And at the end of the day, he is the greatest defender of all time. If it's not him, it is Bill Russell. So I agree with you there. But again, Travis, I give you a shout out. You stood 10 toes down like we always ask everybody here in Goat James Kingdom to do. Because again, a lot of people are just cowards. They like to talk a lot. They're safe in the comments. They always want to talk to Johnny in the comments, but never want to step up on a Friday night and speak to me like a man. But you, Travis, you get your props. Appreciate you for doing what you did. It's a great job by you, although you gave me a false list to put up here. And
just the order. Sorry.
Just the order. I gave you a whole week, and you still fucked it up.
I did. I honestly have to say it's a great job. Like y'all did an excellent job. Even though Travis, I really was like, he about to put some bullshit on it. I was waiting. Yeah. I was gonna rip your list apart. And then I saw it, and I was like, "Man, I can't really say shit."
Yeah, you know what's crazy though? Except for
two of those categories with steals, just so you can help your dude out. You know what you was doing. You know what you was doing. You ain't slick. Every time you talk to Travis about defense, he is going to harp on steals because it helps the ball-headed menace. He knows what he's doing. He's one of the best Jordan delegates out there, boy. He knows exactly where to poke.
Yes, he is.
One thing I wanted to kind of explain too, just because it's interesting you should mention Patrick Ewing. But yeah, I didn't even know that either. Like a lot of these, when I was just kind of sifting through all this data, I was like, Patrick Ewing. But yeah, he was part of like one of the 2 like highest ranked defenses of all time. I didn't even know that when it was like 93, 94 when they were on the Knicks. And then he has one of the lowest averages for like defense relative to league average for his career. It was like, I think he goes under the radar a lot. Especially like when it comes to initial impact of the team. He was on when joining, like that's how a lot of these guys go. But yeah, great names all around. You're definitely right about Wilt Chamberlain too. I mean, if of all the stats, I've always said that. Like if all the stats were counted from the drop, him and Bill would be 1A, 1B. Then we'd be having a conversation about like second or third and fourth, and like whatever the case is there. Like they're our goats or whatever. But yeah.
You would literally have to split it up how y'all did it, perimeter and interior. It couldn't be like it would be hard for anybody to crack the top 10 all time. Like hey Johnny, if you put your top 10 list up, it would literally be like Wilt, Bill, Akeem. You see what I'm saying? Like John Havlicek, it would be a lot of those players. Maybe Jerry West is in there. That's what I'm saying. Like
Mhm.
Jordan and LeBron and a lot of the players today would probably be more than likely 5 through 10.
Well, honestly, I don't believe Michael Jordan and LeBron are the two best perimeter defenders of all time. I really don't. But by the metrics and the criteria laid out, that's what they ended up becoming. Shows you how great they are as defenders in general. So that was the point of the show, is to figure out how great Jordan and LeBron
You
were.
know what name I wasn't shocked by, the way, Johnny?
Huh.
Stockton. I wasn't shocked by Stockton being
Nah,
on
you
this list.
can't be stocked. You can't be stocked by stock. Stockton has all the numbers. So, again though, but the thing about this is that another thing I wanted to bring up, because we have Mr. Danny Mack here talking crap, and one of the things that I also wanted to bring up, it reflected on how LeBron James not being able to make the all defensive team due to the MJ media fan base that exists out there. And the fact that they refuse to select LeBron James for the all defensive team hurt his overall status as far as being closer to Michael Jordan, as you can see with the numbers here. Because at the end of the day, LeBron James should have 9 to 10 all defensive selections. He should have made it from 2015 to 2018. If not, he should have made it in 2020 as well. But the media refuses to give LeBron James his credit for defense. They just refuse to accept that he's a great defender. When the last 5 years that the coaches had to vote, LeBron James was first team defensive selected player. He was still great after that. They just never gave him the nod for it. It got so bad that they had to change how they voted for the all defensive team, because they wouldn't even give him a defensive player of the year award. That's how bad it was. They were voting for guys who wasn't even making the all defensive team and giving them basically the defensive player of the year award. So you can see here
Marcus
Jordan
Smart got one, but LeBron James ain't got one.
Yeah, you can see Jordan was helped a lot by having his 9 selections and his defensive player of the year. If LeBron would have had just one defensive player of the year, his numbers would have looked greater. So that's why his haters love to throw that out there. But again, it is the MJ media fan base that keeps LeBron James away from the all defensive selections. Because the stats say LeBron James plays great defense, and he's been playing great defense. The last great defensive year LeBron had was 2021. If you want to count that, it was a shortened season for him. But either way, 2020 was a great defensive season for LeBron James. So he would have definitely have at least 9 to 10 all defensive selections. But again, my top 10 list, I feel very comfortable with it. I'm very, very comfortable with it. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get up out of here. It is the Friday night exposure with the Exposer. You guys know what we do here in GOAT James Kingdom. We'll be back again on Sunday's show, noon Eastern time, with the GOAT James Kingdom show with B. Lee and A. Johnny. You guys know you can catch us there. We're going to have a great topic as we'll discuss basketball and the greatest players to ever play the game of basketball. Thanks to Twin Man and Travis for joining me here on a Friday night exposure. Thanks to everybody here also that's in the comments. You guys are great. You guys know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share the content. You guys also know you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Discord, Twitter. We are all over the place. We are the GOAT James Kingdom platform. I'm A. Johnny the Exposer. Tonight's show is about to be ending. You guys have a great show. A great night. Peace and blessings to Travis and Twin Man. You guys be good. I'll let you guys go. So you guys have a great night. Thank you again, gentlemen. And again, y'all, this is the Friday night exposure with the Exposer. Thank you for joining me on another great Friday night. You have now been exposed by the Exposer.
If you're a basketball fan and you're tired of basketball shows that talk about fake narratives and using non-basketball terms like killer instinct, playoff translation, gravity, come to GOAT James Kingdom.